Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Scott, and today we're taking a look at the new Werewargs kit from Conquest: The Last Argument of Kings. This is the newest brute unit for the Nords army. It's a really cool kit, so let's go ahead and dive into this review. Let's start by taking a look at the sprues for this kit. Now, there are two sprues that build 3 total Werewargs. Right off the bat, you can see that there's some really nice sculpting on these models, especially where the fur is concerned. I really think that the fur is going to make this model easy to paint. You'll be able to do a lot of dry brushing to quickly paint these models up. I like that this kit takes all of the pieces for each of the different werewolves and labels them A, B, and C. It also labels which arms go with which bodies, which is very convenient. It looks like each werewolf gets 2 head options and 2 options for each arm, meaning that you'll have some options when it comes to customizing the positioning of your models and which faces they have. So if you're buying multiple copies of this kit, they're all going to look pretty different. The assembly instructions for this kit are pretty good. They're straightforward and easy to follow. It only took me about an hour and a half to build all these models, and that was while I was socializing during a group paint night. So if you're just sitting down and focusing on building them, you could be done much faster than that. The instructions do clearly label which arms go with which bodies and which head options go with each body, so you don't have to worry about accidentally mixing up arms that don't fit on the pose that you're trying to build. You might be wondering just how large these models are, so here they are next to some brutes from other armies. Now, as you can see, these guys have pretty hunched over poses, and so that makes them shorter than most other brutes. As far as their width and bulk, they're pretty comparable to the Ogre from the same army. They might even be slightly larger than Ogre if they were standing up straight. Their poses do make them nice and compact. They should be able to rank up and line up on the table really nicely without having any difficulty. I've also included a size comparison next to the Werewarg, which is the character that has come out alongside these werewolves. And as you can see, the Werewarg is slightly larger. He's not as hunched over, and he has a lot more flowing robes, so he ends up looking a little bit larger than the rest of the Werewargs. Taking a look at the rules, we can see that the Werewargs are a light brute regiment with a movement of 7 inches, volley of 1, clash of 2, 6 attacks, 4 wounds apiece, resolve of 3, defense of 2, and evade of 1. The unit has the Bloodlust, Fearsome, and Impact 1 special rules, and a draw event that gives them regeneration 3. Based on what we can see, I think these units are going to be a lot of fun. They are lights, so they're not scoring objectives, but it does mean that they're arriving in the first round of the game most of the time. Now that means if a unit arrives in the first round, they can move 14 inches up the board on their first turn. In their second turn, they could be potentially charging if your opponent has taken any lights or any fast-moving mediums. So these are going to serve in most situations as sort of a distraction unit. You're going to charge them in. They're just barely bursty enough with their damage output that your opponent can't ignore them, but if your opponent knows what they're doing, they're not going to turn the tide of the game either. I really like that they have that regeneration. The only other lights that I'm aware of in the game that have regeneration are in the Spires army, and that's assuming that the Spires are taking the build that's centered around regeneration. So it's a super fun rule. It means that you're most of the time going to be getting a werewolf back every round when they activate. Now, theoretically, you could take a lot of these because under the Werewarg, they are mainstay. Werewarg also gives them flurry, which makes them just a bit better in melee. You may notice that they cost 160 points for a full squad of 3, but each individual additional stand costs 60 points. That means that these guys are cheaper to take a second regiment rather than add models to an existing regiment. So they're meant to be taken as minimum size units. That doesn't mean you can't take them as a larger unit, you're just going to be spending more points per model than you would otherwise. I was able to watch a couple games where one of my local Nords players substituted these into their list. In the first game, they played against a player that wasn't used to getting charged in round 2, and as a result, 2 units of these Werewargs were able to do a lot of damage and ultimately turn the tide of that game. The second match, though, the player that he was facing knew what they were doing and deleted them before any other units even got into the battlefield. So it really does come down to the experience of your opponent when using these. They seem like they're really good if your opponent ignores them, and if they get focused down, they die really fast. Now the question is, do you need Werewargs in your life as a Nords player? I think you do. This kit is really cool from a painting standpoint, but also from a gameplay standpoint. It's opening up more options for Nords lists with light units that are a threat in the early game, and the fact that they're mainstay means you could build around them. I don't necessarily recommend doing that, but you could do it. I've been enjoying painting mine so far. There will be a tutorial for these coming in the near future. These release the end of this week. I definitely recommend going to your local Conquest store and picking up a set of Werewargs. Thank you so much for watching this video today. I really hope that you've enjoyed it. If you have, go ahead and like it and then subscribe to my channel so you can see future videos that I make. I'd like to give a special shout out to my channel members that make videos like this possible. If you would like to become a channel member, hit the join button below this video. As always, have an amazing day, and we'll catch you in the next one.